Yeah, so I partnered with Alex Keeley. So he's a former senior investigator with the Department of Homeland Security, and he what he trained people on is the run, hide, fight methodology that they train. So the difference here is not in the methodology, and I think that pretty much almost any active shooter preparation training that you take will be probably 95% the same content, the same idea overall, right? Because it doesn't differ that much one way or the other. What's different here is I would say the level of individualization. So if you have like 95% content that's the same, no matter where you go to learn it, it's a question of how much each person taking it gains from going through it, right? So if you have something that it's just people are just watching or reading or whatever, then you're going to get a very different internalization and a very different learning experience compared to something that forces each person to go through it on their own time, to think through it within the context of their own circumstances and their own surroundings, and to visualize it and to plan it on a person by person basis. So the answer is it's pretty much the same as far as content and the methodology is concerned, but it's different from the perspective of how it gets each person to individually engage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because retention is the key, right?
Yeah.
You want folks to retain as much of it as possible. And I went through it, and Sandy went through it, and it utilizes the kind of the chunking method, where it's just a little bit at a time, and then and then there's reviews and things of that nature, so that so you can really kind of absorb it.
Myself, when I went through the program, just when I thought that I had a good understanding and I felt like I had the recall of that understanding to be able to remember it in a different situation, the skill builder almost reinforced that, well, it didn't reinforce it, but it brought to my attention that I wasn't retaining as much information as I thought I was. And it brought me back to that area where I needed to reinforce the knowledge that I'd learned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I actually did that purposely. So I built Skill Builder based on I've been doing martial arts for about 20 years, as I told you, and I took the kind of the learning principles that I learned from doing martial arts and built them into a software platform. So what I knew is that, well, if you have long format video or PowerPoints, they're not an effective way for people to learn new things, right? Because you don't build a skill properly just by sitting there and watching somebody talk to you or at you or whatever. You have to actually engage, and you need to get the right information in bits. You need to get it at the right time, in the right order, in the right way. You need to interact at the right time in the right way, and so on. So uh, and other learning platforms out there are not suitable for that, because they're made for anybody to be able to make a course for anything, right? And the more general something is, the less specific it is. So needed to create a way to make it very specific for the repetition that I know is needed for proper learning, for people to interact properly at the right time, with the right information, to actually go out. And the school who went through it, they told me, the vice principal and multiple teachers, they said that as they were going through it, it actually purposely had them stop where they were and go out and do exercises and go analyze their surroundings and plan this and that. So they were actually walking around doing things as they were going through it, which is precisely what you need in order for things to sink in properly, right?
So, Jeff, why is it important that everyone take this course? Not just security officers, and we are the International Foundation for Protection Officers, but not just security officers, but anyone who works in a workplace, anyone involved with schools, virtually everyone out there. Why is it so important that they take this course?
An unfortunate scenario that's what's happening across the US right now. There's a lot of shootings happening right now, and you know, there's in a lot of them you see that you can't just fully rely on other people to make sure that you're okay, right? Each person needs to be able to understand how to think through the process of making sure that they're okay, and try to make sure that the people, if you're in a school, try to make sure that the people around you are okay, and that the room that you're in is set up fine, and that you have an idea of how to get out in an intelligent way. And if you leave it up to other people to make sure that you understand what you're doing, sorry, if you don't take it your own responsibility to make sure you know what you're doing, and you leave it in the hands of other people, if a situation like that is happening, they're thinking to get out of the building, right? They're not thinking about how to make sure that you and all the other people around are fine, right? Some of them might be, it's not very likely because they should be getting out, but ultimately it unfortunately comes down to each person's own responsibility to make sure that they're okay. And if you're completely unprepared, and not saying that this is going to make somebody safe, and the kind of situation is not safe, but there's a difference between being safe and being prepared, having thought through things and done planning. Those are things that you can do in advance, and it would be kind of foolish not to do that, especially for like you do that for fire alarms, right? You do that for other dangerous situations. It's something that I think everyone should do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about just a chaotic event. But yeah, unfortunately, the reality is we have to start thinking about it, because of what's happened here in the United States and also abroad. We have to train our minds to start thinking about these types of things as ugly as they are. And Sandi, I wanted to ask you, as far as the IFPO, why was it important for the IFPO to get behind something like this?
So I really believe that this is a needed and a required skill set, and it sets a precedence. It sets the mold, and the outcome of having this in a department for all individuals, be it the receptionist, be it the janitorial staff, be it the security officer, the design team, your architectural team, your engineering department, because then everybody has the same skill set. And this is indeed an issue that is prevalent in our society, unfortunately. And I think that is part of the role of a security officer, which is our forefront or our area of expertise. Safety is critical, and of course, keeping your employees and yourself safe is essential, obviously. So that's why the IFPO has backed this program and Jeff's efforts here. I just feel it's a very much a needed commodity.
Yeah, and maybe there are security officers out there or supervisors, managers, who are in charge of security for a workplace. Maybe they would want to take this program and suggest to the various businesses and ownership, hey, look, this is something that I think you guys should get behind and should have everyone take a look at. Maybe they need to be the one to advocate for it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Well, it's certainly going to make their responsibilities somewhat less hectic should a situation arise, because he will know that everybody has a skill set. Like once you have gotten out of the immediate danger of a active shooter, and you're, say, regrouping in another room or a closet or whatever it be, the next chain of activity is already instilled because of skill builder. So you can be confident that, well, mostly confident that your fellow employees are going to take that action, I think, which would lend some consistency, but also confidence that the officer knows that those people are capable, or they have that understanding of what needs to be done.
So Jeff, if somebody is interested in learning more about Skill Builder, where can they go? And then also, I would imagine that you have individual rates, and then if you have, say, a company of 50 employees, that might kind of alter things a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so you also get a better rate if going through the IFPO and Sandi as well. And so the way it works is there's sort of a base price for the learning experience, and then there's upgrades depending on features. Okay, so this is really through Skill Builder. It's really especially made for a B2B, meaning for organizations, schools, businesses to purchase, as opposed to your standard online training that is really good for individuals. In a sense, this is very suitable for larger organizations, schools, and so on, because it has a whole bunch of tracking mechanisms built into it, so that from the perspective of the management, you know that every single person who's gone through it by the end has really learned it. And then you could track everything as well. So part of the features include all these tracking mechanisms. And when somebody actually gets through it, it's impossible to get through it without actually learning the information. Like there are certain phases that make sure that the person really understands it in order to get through. So from a organizational standpoint, all those tracking mechanisms and being able to see who has gone through it and that they're actually taking notes and that they've completed all the tasks become very relevant. And the pricing is obviously based on the features that they want. There's also a very key thing that it's an idea that I got from another security company I'm working with, which is the ability to customize it per location. So he'd actually pitched it to a number of his clients, so like Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, and they were not interested because they wanted something catered to their specific surroundings. So I developed a customization feature where on a per location basis, it could be customized with rally points and shelter options and floor plans that get embedded directly into the course at the appropriate spots as well. Far as I know, from all the security people and companies I've spoken to, there's nothing else in North America that has the ability to do that